Welcome to Frantoio Growth. Today we're making our version of IMO 1, which is a Korean natural farming preparation. The core of Korean natural farming is taking indigenous microorganisms and culturing them, growing them on farm, and applying them to the field. We can apply that as a sort of a compost type preparation, inoculating the soil. We can extract them and put it in our drip irrigation. We can extract them and spray it foliar application on the leaves. There's a lot of applications for these preparations, and we're going to get into that. But the core is taking collections of indigenous microorganisms from nature and then culturing them and then making those applications. So IMO 1, traditionally you would take a box of rice out into nature, into highly developed ecosystems with a lot of diversity, and you put the box of rice in nature and you let it sit for 7 to 10 days. And over that time, the spores and the bacteria from the winds would blow in and grow on that box. And so it's almost like a petri dish, but we're making it with rice. And after 7 to 10 days, you would go out and check your collection and see if you've managed to make a nice, good, clean collection. And you take that back, and that would be your IMO 1, which is what we're making today. And then that would be packed with sugar to preserve it. And then from there, you'd go on to preparing more cultures of that initial sampling. So today we were making IMO 1 from these collections that we've taken from a property up in the hills above us. We have taken some soil samples from underneath living roots, and then we've taken some samples of the organic matter kind of decaying on top of the soil, and then we've taken some samples of the living leaves. And what we've done is, this is allowing us to get really wide diversity of microbes from the different horizons in the soil and the different layers of life above that, from the decaying matter on top of the soil to the living plant matter above. Every horizon has a different microbiome, and so we want to capture all of that and get a really diverse culture of all of those different microbes from different horizons and also different areas on this property. So there was some riparian areas, there was some kind of scrubby chaparral areas, and then we had some kind of oaky woodlands. And those all have a different set of species of microbes and fungi living in there. And so we've hopefully done a good job of capturing a diverse set of that. So to summarize, we have a diverse set of samples taken from one snapshot of an ecosystem up in the hills up to the east or west. And we are going to take these, we're going to mix them with rice, and then we are going to grow them here on farm. And then over time we'll make some more preparations with that, and we'll show you that as we go. So this whole process is a little bit wetter than traditional IMO collection. If you've seen any of Chris Trump's videos, you'll see he tries to make the rice pretty dry. It's actually a little undercooked. This rice you could eat. Not that you would, with me sticking my hands in it. But we are trying to expedite the process, and we're babying the microbes a little bit more than is traditional. So now we have our rice, it's all cooled off. We have our collections, and what we're going to do is we're going to get our rice. Again, I do like to grind the leaves up because it's just, you get a lot more surface area and a lot more contact, but you can just kind of break them up. So normally what I'll do is I'll make different samples from different areas, and every tray is going to have a little bit of a different snapshot of a different part of the biome. So I'll have at least one collection of living foliage, and usually a couple of the organic matter on top of the soil, usually a couple of soil samples, and then just an extra of one of those. When I made this collection, it started raining pretty hard, and so I called it a day. I had a pretty good volume of each collection, more than enough for my needs, but there's just less individual spots that these samples were taken from. Part of Korean natural farming, and you can use this to inoculate compost. You can spread this like you would a compost when we've gone through the next preparations. But this is a much more powerful and concentrated source of microbes. So it's kind of compost. It's not all that different from compost, but because we're doing it in a much more controlled environment, we can actually create much higher concentrations of microbes, and that becomes more of like an inoculant than a bulk material that gets applied. All right, now we have our prepared collections. And these are going to go in the incubator. We will check on these every day. The humidifier needs to be topped off with water every day because this is not a very well sealed environment, so we lose a lot of that moisture. Other than that, we'll let these sit for 7 to 10 days, and we will come back and put them to bed.
Much later.
So this is our incubator setup. It's very simple. It's just some styrofoam taped together and some wire rack shelving. In here we have a Inkbird temperature controller set to 86 degrees. And then we also have Inkbird humidity controller set to 94, 95% relative humidity. And we wire those up to humidifier, very basic. We fill that up with water every day, and then just a brewer heat lamp, Tractor Supply, $5, and then voila, here we are. This is our collection. So we have some. This is great. This is absolutely what we want to see. This is bangarang. We do get some duds, not a whole lot here. This one got kind of dried up, and I just didn't really have any juice in it, so we'll leave that aside. This one also kind of a dud. We'll set that aside, and then we get something like this where it's, there's plenty in there that we can take, and then we'll just, depending on what the inside of that far side looks like, we'll maybe take some, maybe not. And then this is okay. This has got plenty of usable stuff. You can see if you get in there close, some of those fungi are starting to form a macro. A lot of the fungi that we work with is this kind of like moldy looking stuff, but then if you see those little like mini mushroom guys, those are some macro fungi. Most of the stuff most of the fungi we work with doesn't form that kind of fruiting body, but it's fun to see it when you do. So once we have our collections, once we have our nice fungal dominated growth, what we're going to do is we're going to, this essentially is IMO 2, which is the next preparation. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all this and we're going to pack it with brown sugar. The brown sugar has it's a very low moisture product, and so what it does is it draws the moisture out of here, it has an osmotic pressure, and it dries out our collections and forces our fungi and bacteria to sporulate, and they go into dormancy. Then when we go to make our next preparations, they'll be ready to go. They'll be nice and stable in that kind of dried out state. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 1-to-1 weight of our collections and brown sugar. So this guy, we can just kind of take the whole thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to break this apart a little bit. We want to create a little more surface area. We're not trying to like smash and destroy. The fungal structure is very delicate and we are damaging it, but we want to do as little as possible. So just going to kind of gently break it up, and all the while we are measuring on a scale. This one again will take the whole collection. You can see on the back side, you get the grains with the fungi kind of filling in and creating a mat. Okay, now we get to this collection. What we want to do is we want to look through it and see kind of what is good and what is not. And it's looking like we actually have a decent amount of growth. Anything that's kind of clumped together is going to have enough microbial mass to be worth saving. Oh, we're breaking it up because basically we just want to have some surface area. If we put the whole mass in here and we put the sugar on top, it wouldn't really mix very well. And what we're trying to do with the sugar is to draw the moisture out of all the rice and the microbial mass. Because when there is water activity, the water activity allows the microbes to grow, and we don't want the microbes active, we want them dormant. And so we want to put the sugar on there and we want to mix everything together so that the sugar draws the moisture out of the microbes, out of the rice, and creates a lower moisture environment that is conducive to dormancy. And so breaking it up is really just a practical matter. All we're really trying to do is get some contact between the sugar and the microbes. Nice little mat right there. Now this is a little bit different from traditional IMO 2 in that because this is coming out of an incubator, it's a higher moisture product. We found good success in kind of following the rest of the steps. We might add a little more sugar if it seems a little wet, but we will burn that bridge when we get there. Done. So that is 1,138 grams. So we are going to add 1,138 grams of sugar. $11.42, close enough. And now what we do is just kind of gently massage all this together. Now we have an even coating of the sugar around each piece, and now we're kind of gonna keep massaging in the hopes that we get a little bit of sugar kind of into these chunks. We're packing down to remove any air bubbles just because the air in there would, it's like we want to remove the moisture to keep it dormant. The removal of air bubbles keeps it a little more preserved. It's not super important. Obviously, we're not creating an anaerobic environment in here, but that's just good practice. And more importantly is sometimes we didn't get everything out of this collection, but sometimes we do have a space issue. We want to make sure that we can fit everything in one container. We made this in February 7th. This is actually collected from our farm in the south area where we have a little creek. There's some sycamore and oak trees. Collecting on your own farm is actually one of the best places to start because you have the indigenous microorganisms are really well suited to the soil environment. And this is what it looks like after it's kind of had a chance to react a little bit. So we have, as the moisture makes contact with the sugar, the moisture is going to get drawn out and it's going to kind of even out. It's really cold in here, but when it's warmer, this is a little bit, it's almost soupy. But the moisture kind of evens out over time. This would happen a lot more quickly if we broke this up more, but this is kind of what happens over time is it just evens out in moisture, and this is a very stable product. So even with all the food in here, because we've lowered the moisture content of this environment, there's no biology happening. If we mix this in with maybe some fresh manure, compost or something, we would increase the moisture content quickly, and this would, in a couple of days, have turned into a full bloom just like we had in our collections. But this is in a very stable form right now. Okay. Last step is to label it. So IMO 2.